It was the first snow day of the 6th grade school year. My friend Jack and I were getting ready to go sledding down the hill in his backyard. Socks, boots, snow pants, gloves, and hats were recklessly tossed on our bodies as we were eager to get going. Right before we opened the patio door to greet the snow, I rummaged through Jack's closet and threw on a Teton Valley Ranch Camp sweatshirt to complete the final layers of my sledding outfit. Jack turned around, saw that I put on his camp sweatshirt, and freaked out. "Whoa," he screamed. "You can't wear that. You don't go there." There. It was a month-long, all-boys cowboy camp, smack in the middle of DuBois, Wyoming. Jack had attended Teton Valley Ranch Camp, or TVRC for short, the year prior, and had been talking to me about it all year long. He absolutely loved his first year there. Never ceased to brag about his awesome camp friends, cool counselors, and his horse named Angus. He sported his TVRC apparel, rocked cowboy jeans, and sometimes even showed me his lassoing skills in the backyard. I was pretty mad that Jack wouldn't let me wear his hoodie, but I took it off, carefully hung it back on the hook I had taken it from, and settled for an Abercrombie sweatshirt instead. I was ashamed. I wanted to wear that hoodie. I wanted awesome camp friends. I wanted cool counselors. And I wanted a horse named Angus. I got home from Jack's house, and I told my mother that I wanted to go to TVRC. And that summer, off I went. I'd never been out west before, nor had I ever been away from home for a month. I had my doubts even before I left. 1 month, 4 weeks, 31 days. There was just no way I could do it. And sure enough, as soon as I stepped off the plane at Jackson Hole Airport, I wanted to go home. And when I got to camp, things only got worse. Jack introduced me to his friends, but they weren't as awesome as I expected, and I really wanted nothing to do with any of them. After nearly 2 hours at TVRC, I came to a sudden realization. I hated camp. I hated it so much that after campfire on the first night, I decided it was time to go back home to New Canaan. I ran into the camp administration's office, crying, of course, and made them feel bad enough about me to let me use their phone. I called my parents and I told them that I couldn't do it anymore, and that they needed to come pick me up as soon as possible. They really didn't give me a straight answer as to whether they were going to let me leave or not, but I was completely under the impression that they were cracking. My mother couldn't bear to hear me sob through the phone any longer. "Drew," she said, "I will run all the way to Wyoming, swim across every single lake, and climb over every single mountain if you really need me." That's it, I thought. I got her. That night, I announced to my cabin that I was officially leaving because I had a surprise family reunion that I needed to attend back at home. The next morning, right before I was about to pack my bags, I checked my mailbox outside the administration's office. I had 2 letters. The first, a printed email from my mother. "Hi, Drew. I've been thinking about our conversation tonight. I want you to know that Dad and I believe in you and know that you can do this. I really want you to realize that. Please stop saying that you can't. Things can be tough sometimes, but it is important for you to challenge yourself and stay strong and get through it. You are just as capable, or even more, than most boys your age, and I know that you have it in you to enjoy this experience. Tough times make us tougher people. It is a part of growing. A few blisters, bruises, or a sore back will heal. It is the experience that shapes your life. For the next few days, I am expecting you to have fun and stay in the moment. Enjoy the beautiful surroundings. Have fun during campfires. Learn something new about horses and carve a beautiful stone for your sisters. Remember that this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You will be home soon enough and look back at this week and say that it wasn't so bad. As a matter of fact, you should be proud of yourself already. Shake it off and start a new day with a smile. Let everyone see the Drew we all know. Funny, smart, and always happy. XO, Mom." I was distraught. I still just couldn't fathom staying on the ranch another 3 weeks, and I was furious at my mother for not understanding my sufferings. In a fit of rage, I ripped open the envelope of my second letter. At first, all I saw was a corny joke and some illegible handwriting that I still can't make out to this day. But when I glanced down to see who it was from, I saw the name that spoke volumes: Zadie. Just then, I remembered that my grandfather, who my cousins and I call Zadie, had gone to camp once too. But it wasn't my camp, or it wasn't like a camp that anyone here has been to. It was a concentration camp. Zadie spent the first 6 years of his life in Poland until one morning in 1940 when he was forced onto a cargo train by Nazi soldiers at 3 a.m. to Buchenwald, the first of several concentration camps he stayed in. He and his family had little time to pack belongings. Their life as they knew it was over. He was stolen from his home at the age of 6 and thrust into a world of hate, cruelty, and violence. My grandfather suffered the brutality of the Holocaust. During World War II, the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, encouraged prejudice against Jews and other undesirables, or those not of the Aryan race. The Nazis decided that the most efficient way of extermination was to set up concentration camps, or compounds where large numbers of people are deliberately imprisoned and sometimes forced to provide labor or await mass execution. Although the Nazis did not achieve their goal, they managed to kill millions of Jews and others in a display of cruel, sadistic, and inhumane acts. Zadie's brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, and parents were gassed to death in the camps. He had one surviving aunt, Anne Blanche, who cared for him after the death of his mother and father. Some incidents were so traumatic for Zadie that he is still able to tell me about them in such detail some 75 years later. One of these experiences occurred shortly after he was arraigned. My grandfather was staying in the same campus as Anne Blanche, who, just before the Nazis invaded Poland, had given birth to Zadie's cousin, Henry. Anne Blanche was forced to keep her baby in hiding while she worked throughout the course of the day, in fear that he would be taken away by the guards. Along with the complication of hiding her child, Anne Blanche also had no way of feeding him. Every day, Anne Blanche chose to sacrifice her bread ration to her child, leaving nothing for herself. Suffering stomach complications from malnutrition, Anne Blanche became severely ill. At the ration lines one night, a prisoner, who was also an ex-surgeon, propped Anne Blanche onto a dining hall table, cut open her stomach with a kitchen knife, attempted to fix the complication, and sewed her back together with needle and thread. She survived, but my grandfather, at 6 years old, witnessed the entire ordeal. My grandfather told me about a similar experience at a different labor camp. At this camp, a steel mill factory, my grandfather witnessed what he claims to be among the most traumatic experiences of all. One day, Zadie and some other young boys were moving shipments of potatoes from the railroad carts to the warehouse. During their lunch break, a boy around the same age as Zadie bent down to pick up a potato that had fallen under a cart. As soon as he got up from retrieving the potato, a guard stepped forward and shot him square in the stomach under suspicion that he was stealing the potato. My grandfather said that the kid didn't even know he had been shot. He looked down at his stomach, clenched his wound, looked back up at the guard, and slumped to the ground. Once again, my grandfather, at 6 years old, witnessed the entire ordeal. And then there was me, sitting on a porch in the middle of the beautiful Teton Valley, Wyoming, moping and moaning about how I wasn't having fun. Even when I was surrounded by kids my age, fun activities, and caring counselors, I was still a complainer. I immediately hated everything and anything offered to me by the camp, and refused to allow myself to enjoy the opportunity. I was hating camp because I wanted to. At the concentration camps, Zadie couldn't call his mother to come pick him up as soon as possible. He couldn't storm into the camp administration's office and beg to use their phone. Every moment for my grandfather was about not admitting defeat. He knew that giving up could and would have much larger ramifications. My mother was right. If I went home after only a week at camp, I would miss out on all the great opportunities that rested right in front of my eyes, and I would regret it for the rest of my life. But at the time, none of this really occurred to me. After I read my mother's email, I pulled out a calendar from my backpack and created a countdown to the last day of camp. I still couldn't wait to leave. But what I really should have done was taken a good look into the dining hall. There, I wouldn't see a woman with her stomach sliced open on the kitchen table. I wouldn't encounter any Nazi soldiers ready to shoot me for bending down to pick something off the ground. Instead, I would have just seen smiling faces of campers who were ready to take advantage of the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that they were all so lucky to be given. At that moment, the words in my mother's letter should have began to resonate. Tough times make us tougher people. It is a part of growing. A few blisters, bruises, or a sore back will heal. It is the experience that shapes your life. But I was young, and I was selfish. I was so hung up in everything I didn't like about camp that I pushed aside what I should have been appreciating. The experience. It's something that we all love to hate. It's something that we forget about, fail to appreciate, and sometimes even dread. The events, the incidents, the results, the gains, the losses, the failures, and the achievements have never been entirely under our control. But what is in our control is how we use these experiences to build upon ourselves. The experience can be hard. Accept it. Embrace it. Sometimes it's difficult to appreciate what we have in our lives because we're always longing for things we don't have. We can become stuck in the wanting, needing, and having, instead of being grateful for the many things that we already do have. When we're concentrating so closely on what's not happening in our lives, or what we don't have, or are trying to blame and justify why some things are as they are, we miss out on all the greatness that is surrounding us. I wish, more than anything, that I could have realized this during my last 3 weeks at TVRC. I stuck it out as best I could. I lassoed. I hiked. I participated in camp activities. I laughed. I danced. I rode horses. And I made new friends. It would be an understatement to say that I was not cut out for the cowboy lifestyle at Teton Valley Ranch. But I certainly regret not fully embracing my inner wrangler. Take this with you. You are fortunate enough to be given opportunities every day, whether they are big or small, fun or boring, easy or hard. Appreciate them. Respect them and play with them. But don't neglect them. Because there are so many others in this world that would do anything for a chance like yours. My mother had made sure that I knew she would climb over mountains to come protect me if I really needed it. She had also made sure that I realized I didn't need it. All I really needed was a taste of appreciation. I went to camp this summer of 6th grade, and I hated it. But I still wear my Teton Valley Ranch hoodie whenever I can. If I could go back to the summer of 6th grade and do it all over again, I would. For myself, for my parents, and especially for Zadie. Thank you.